Oh, knock, knock.
Who's there?
Europe.
Europe who?
Ew, well, I am not a poo.
I'm sorry about that, Kylie. You're not a poo. Well, thank you all for being here today. My name is Lowell, and I'm a senior user experience research program manager at Duolingo.
And I'm Kiley. I'm a senior user experience researcher at Duolingo.
If you haven't heard of Duolingo before, the company is most known for our language learning application, which has over 500 million registered users and over 13 million daily users. Our UX research team of 10 researchers is focused on building a deep understanding of our global learners' behaviors, needs, attitudes, and motivations. And we use this understanding to surface actionable insights that allow us to make better business and product decisions. We're fortunate to have a huge pool of highly engaged learners on the main Duolingo language app, which makes recruiting for most of our studies, quite straightforward. We can easily query our own database and directly invite learners to participate. But Duolingo has a whole lot more than just our main language learning app. We have a wide range of products, including a podcast, a brand new math app, an English proficiency test, a schools product, virtual classes, and a brand new literacy app as well, which we'll be talking about today. Many of these products require much more creative ways of reaching our learners for research. Sometimes we're looking for non-users. Sometimes the pool of users is really small and difficult to find participants from. And sometimes the data we need just isn't there. So what we'll be talking about today is how we use Dscout to conduct research with a panel of parents and kids over the course of a year.
As a UX researcher at Duolingo, I get the amazing opportunity to conduct this research with kids and parents. Specifically, my work has been with the Duolingo ABC team. And in case you aren't familiar with it, Duolingo ABC is Duolingo's new literacy learning app designed to help kids ages 3 to 8 to learn and love to read. In the app, kid learners go through leveled lessons based on systematic phonics instruction. The lessons are composed of bite-sized exercises, including, for instance, tracing, identifying beginning sounds of words and matching sounds with letters, and various story-based reading activities. Within these exercises, kids interact with our original characters, who are kid versions of the Duolingo cast of characters, and read our original narratives. And just like with Duolingo's language learning app and our other products, UX research is key to making Duolingo ABC the best product it can be to help kids learn and have fun. To support us in running a successful UXR program for Duolingo ABC, we needed a few things, or maybe more than a few things. First, we needed the ability to conduct generative foundational research to understand our learners, their families, contexts, needs, wants, abilities, etc., which in turn impacts the design of the product. We also needed playtesting opportunities to understand the usability, enjoyability, and learning potential of our product at different stages of the design and development process. We wanted to run research with kids and caregivers or parents diverse across various dimensions as well, such as age, location, race, ethnicity, income, family structure, ability, also screen time rules, personalities, interests, and many other qualities. And while we could recruit our own Duolingo ABC learners, we also wanted to run UXR with kids who weren't familiar with the product already. After we recruited diverse families, we then wanted to build strong relationships with them. Among other reasons, getting to know them would help us pick them for the right studies. Having participants, both kids and grown-ups, already be familiar with the type of setup we needed for studies was going to be helpful too. So these setups might include the kind of recordings you wanted collected, which might be different than what they're used to, how to position the cameras to capture a face in the screen, and the types of questions we want answered, again, which might be different than they're used to. As we move fast at Duolingo, we needed feedback from participants quickly and consistently. And finally, we needed a platform that makes it easy to manage communication and all of our data.
So that's where Dscout came in for us. Part of my role as a UX research program manager is identifying the right tools for the UX research team and their projects. So when we decide what tool to use for a given need, we're thinking about what will be most efficient and effective while also providing a great experience for our participants. When we looked at all those requirements that Kylie mentioned, along with being efficient and effective, Dscout met most, if not all of them. So using Dscout, we could conduct foundational and playtesting research with diverse families across the US, Canada, UK, and Australia. We could build relationships with them so they would become familiar with the setup that we needed. And we could also do all of this quickly and consistently in a way that made communication and data management much easier for us. So once we had decided to use Dscout, we began to build a panel of kids and parents. The kids that we recruited were ranging in age from 3 to 8, which corresponds roughly to preschool to second grade in the US. In our Dscout screener, we indicated that we were looking for kids and parents or caregivers who could participate in future Dscout missions of various time commitments. We gathered basic info about the child, such as age, grade, device, and we also just had them tell us a little bit about themselves, like what their favorite apps and websites were. From these screeners, we picked 10 to 12 from 10 to 12 kids from pre-K, kindergarten, first and second grade, who were diverse across a bunch of the demographics that Kiley mentioned, like location, income, race, and ethnicity. And we ended up with about 50 pairs of children and their caregivers in our panel. After we had screened all of these pairs to fit within our target audience, we invited them to missions over a year-long period. One thing that we love about Dscout's diary mission tool was how flexible it was. So it worked really well for a lot of the different research questions we had. So for example, besides running missions through Live, Diary, and Express, we also adapted Dscout's diary format to work for collecting different types of feedback, what we called micro missions or mini missions, which is what Kiley will be talking about now.
Yeah, thanks, Lowell. So now I'm going to go over a couple of the diary missions or micro or mini missions we adapted for our research panel and how those allowed us to collect a vast amount of deep, interesting data. So the first is this Let's Get to Know You mission, where each kid and parent answered qualitative and quantitative questions to tell us about themselves. Scouts had to complete this mission to continue on in our panel. And although it was a diary mission, it was not longitudinal, but a multi-part mission spread across 2 parts, again, a micro mission. So in the mission, parents answered a bunch of questions about their behaviors, attitudes, and opinions about technology and literacy. They submitted a video of their child telling us something they're proud of, like these. So as we watch the video, in addition to noticing how cute these kids are, pay attention to how the kids answer the questions as they get older, how they express themselves verbally, and what they talk about specifically in terms of their independence. So let's cue the video.
I'm proud of my brain.
You're proud of your brain. Why?
Because my brain let me know everything I want. Drawing.
Why? What are you proud about drawing?
It's fun.
What do you get to do?
I get to draw because I get to draw my name and stuff. I'm proud of myself for defeating my first video game, and why is because I haven't defeated that video game in a long time. I'm proud of myself during my first cheerleading game because I was extra nervous and I wasn't sure that I was able to do it, but I was.
Kids also told us what kinds of apps they like, the books they're currently reading, recorded a video telling a joke, which we used to understand their humor, and drew a picture of their favorite character with 3 things they like about that character, which is a hands-on method to not only hear about popular characters, but the types of qualities that kids value and are thinking about. We take a learner's first perspective at Duolingo because having a product that serves learners and addresses their needs is an absolute top priority for us. So the Let's Get to Know You mission provided 2 learners' first purposes. First, it helped our cross-functional product team get a meaningful understanding of our target audience and their typical developmental differences across age and grade alongside their individual differences. And this is especially important for any team members who don't have kids nor spend time with kids or kind of have studied that. And secondly, the mission also provided deeper insight into these kids in particular, including their abilities, needs, likes, dislikes, attitudes, personalities, and more, so we can match them appropriately to future missions. So for instance, in a study, we might want a balance of kids who really like competition and video games with kids who like drawing or creativity and kind of slower paced collaborative activities more. All right, so another mission type we wanted to showcase is our story reading mission. In these repeat missions, we invited groups of 3 to 5, 7 to 8-year-olds to participate in content testing new original stories our creative team is writing for second graders. And by a repeat mission, I mean that we launched the same structure for this like micro mission multiple times with the same kids, but with different stories. So for these, we were able to pick very quickly kids who are at the right age because of how we segmented our panel and who are at the right reading level and who liked reading a variable amount, which we were able to find out from the Let's Get to Know You mission. And we were able to collect super awesome, interesting mixed data using the diary mission format in Dscout. So in the mission, we collected video recordings of kids reading the stories aloud so we could observe their reactions, hear if they struggled reading certain words, and see how long it took them to get through a single story. Then we had kids record a video of what the story was about in their own words and what they thought about it. And that allowed us to gauge how well they understood the story and what was appealing and unappealing to them. So in the next video we're going to play, there are some kids talking about one of our creepy, surprising stories called The Walls Have Eyes, where the eyes of people in the paintings in a haunted mansion seem to be moving. But in fact, it's just another kid character watching them through holes in the painting.
So what did you think about the story? Did you like it? Did you not like it?
It was creepy.
It was creepy. Why was it creepy?
Because they cut it out the holes.
Oh, they cut the holes out in the painting. Okay. So did you like it? It was creepy, but did you like it?
Yes.
You liked it.
It started out really creepy, then it got kind of funny, but then it was all just for a surprise party, which made it really fun.
Did you like it?
Yes.
The story was kind of scary at one point, but at the other point, when they got at the end of it, then it was kind of funny.
And did you like the story?
Yes.
What did you like about it?
Because the pictures was looking at them, but Lily was actually doing it.
I liked the story because at the end it was funny. In the middle it was kind of spooky, but it was actually really funny because they found out it was just for Popo's birthday.
But it's important to note that these kids didn't always tell us they liked the story. Asking, did you like the story directly can lead to biased answers, but the home context for these kids and the fact that they're talking to their parents made them a bit more comfortable and more honest. So in this next video, it's just a taste. Kids are talking about how one of our characters wasn't responsible when taking care of a plant in a story called Adventures in Planty Sitting. And that's what they didn't like about the story. So let's play that video.
There's only one thing that I didn't like about it is that when she wasn't supposed to take it out the pot, but she did it anyways.
What I don't like is that Zala is doing really, really dangerous stuff with the plant.
What did you like about the story? Or what didn't you like?
That Zala was not being responsible with the plant.
Okay.
So retrace her steps, and she tells him some bad things that she did with her plant, and they're not safe. They're just wild, like me.
To get at how kids responded to the stories, perhaps in a less direct way to really triangulate our data, we also collected a lot of other types of data, including open-ended written questions and multiple choice questions, such as this example adjective ask question, where we list a bunch of descriptors and see the ones that kids would use to describe the story. For example, here, when second graders said the story is for kids their age and kids older than them and not for kids younger than them, then we knew that we were doing something right in that story. And just a quick plug, if you want to learn more about kid playtesting methods like this one, you should check out a website from the Joan Gans Cooney Center at Sesame Workshop, playtestwithkids.org. And lastly, in the mission, parents also told us how they perceived their child's experience reading and the appropriateness of the story in terms of length, reading difficulty, and the narrative itself, which is important because parents obviously have even more context than we have. Ultimately, this research both informed the writing of the specific stories we tested, and it helped us find our own creative voice across all of our original stories in line with what 7 to 8-year-olds enjoy or have high engagement with and can understand, so it has high learning value. Whew, okay, so what did we get out of all of this work overall? I'll pass it to Lowell.
Yeah, so in addition to the learnings that Kiley already shared, we also want to highlight a few things that we thought were particularly effective about this approach of having these pairings of families that we talked to over the span of a year. First, having repeat participants really allowed us to get to know the parents and their kids. So Kiley interacted with them through live missions and also invited them to, as she showed, differently styled missions that they were prepared for already because of doing them repeatedly. This also just helped in general to build trust with these pairs of children and parents. We also got super quick signal with all types of data on various stages of the design process. Panel participants were so responsive and really excited to participate, and the kids also wanted to keep participating. We were able to connect our stakeholders to kids throughout the entire product lifecycle, which was especially important as a lot of the members of the ABC and UX research teams don't actually have our own children. And so for us to get to see the experience of children was really valuable. And then we also worked to empower kids and their caregivers by showing them that they were making a difference in this app and continuing to go back to them for their feedback to help us make it better. We have a few plans for applying what we learned through this panel as well. First, we're exploring how we can use Dscout for more of a rolling research program on a recurring basis. So for example, how could we have panelists or scouts complete missions on a more regular basis as we release new builds of our app? We're also working with the rest of the UX research team here to think about micro missions and reminding them that you can use Dscout for a lot of different short missions as well, even just gathering data in the span of one day. And then finally, as researchers at a company focused on learning, this experience really reminded us that learning happens over time. So most of our research at Duolingo has consisted of single interactions, but based on this experience of following learners over time, we're exploring how we can introduce more touch points to our research to get a better understanding of how their needs and motivations for learning evolve and change. So with that, we thought we'd wrap up with another joke from one of our panelists. This is from a second grader on Dscout. Hey, Kiley, what goes ha 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 pop?
I don't know, Lowell, what?
Someone laughing their head off.
Oh, well, you got me again. Well, thank you all. We hope you enjoyed our presentation and found it insightful and cute. We have plenty of more kid jokes if you need more laughs later on in the day, so please come find us.